Zoom privileges.
See a YouTube symbol.
Yes. Oh, okay. Let me check my phone. Let me see if we did it. It's always exciting. Oh, we did it. I am so proud of us. We have successfully
Yay, we're
managed to
live again.
handful of time. Hello, everyone. For anyone who's in our Zoom waiting room, just letting y'all know, it's going to open to the public at 8 o'clock sharp. So in an hour sharp, I'm going to message y'all in the waiting room chat, but we hope we'll see you guys over there. Definitely. We will. Okay.
And if not, you can find us on YouTube, right?
Exactly. Yes. Yeah, I'm letting them know we are live. There. Hello, everyone. Right. Boom. I did it. Okay. Hi, guys. We have a super awesome guest speaker with us today, Miss Anya with the Season of Anya.
I'm hearing both.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you struggle with that each time.
Thank you. I figured it out.
One of these days, I want someone on YouTube to make a compilation of every time we start, and that's like the same thing every time. I'm hearing double.
Right, where I'm like, okay, and it's like delayed by several seconds.
Yeah,
so it's even screwier. Hello, Crossroads, which is another interesting magical beings to our monthly live chat here at House of Witchcraft. So excited this evening because we have a special guest joining us. We have Anya from Season of Anya, who's going to be joining in our discussion, our topic. Tonight, we're going to be talking a little bit about dark goddesses. And then later on, we're going to talk about erotica.
It's me. Ignore me, Taryn.
And then at 8 o'clock Eastern time, we're going to flip over into our Zoom where you can join us. We have an open Zoom room. You don't have to turn on your camera. You can hit mute. You don't have to talk to us. And you can listen if you want to.
Yes, you can find that, by the way, on our post tab on our YouTube channel. We have it posted today for everyone to see. The Zoom link is there. So we would love all of you guys to join us. But yeah, we hope to see you there. But that's how you can find us. I'm just sharing the link, by the way.
Thank you. At 8 p.m., where we will go into further on how, as modern witches and other interesting magical beings, we are actively working with the goddess Aradia. So we hope you join for all of that this evening. I'm so happy. As you see, we have Dana, who's here with us this evening. And then we have Tesserath, one of our other house member Black Hat folks, joining us as well. And I want to go ahead, like I said, Anya, would you like to give us a couple of words about yourself? Give a little intro. Is there, what you want people to know about you?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I'm Anya. I run a little witchy vlog called The Season of Anya, and it's basically a compilation of modern witchcraft for beginners, tools and resources, a little hub of where to go. I am an author. I like to write books. My first book, Embracing the Sacred Flow, is about spiritual yoga because I have very much incorporated yoga into my spiritual practice, as well as I am working on some other writings with a more witchcraft intent there. So, yeah.
Wait, I have a promo.
Pay her double for that.
Website,
You're so good. Yes, market yourself.
Throw it on my cat.
But also, yeah, with that too, like tonight, I'm really excited to speak about Aradia because for those of you, well, those of everyone outside of the four of us may not know about me, is that I really started my witchcraft journey here with the house when we had our coven out here in San Diego. And Aradia really was one of the first goddesses that I worked with. It was very, it was crazy. I'm like, there's an Italian witch? Oh my God, she makes sense to me and everything like that. And so between that and my blog and all the other things, I'm just so excited to be here and share with everyone, some of my experiences with working with her and how she's inspired me. So thank you for having me, everyone.
You're muted.
No, I was gonna say, and I can personally attest that Anya is quite literally the coolest person who's ever lived, whoever will live, and whoever will live. Meet my bestie, the Dania to my Dania. Live time is cocktail hour. We go crazy here. But yes, this is one of my best friends in the whole world, and I'm so excited and so proud of her. I am the least yoga witch you'll ever find. Let me tell you what, it's not my gig. I love this. This is a fantastic. I'm not even trying to promote her. I just love her. She's just great. Just insert all the promos you can and all the love in the world. Speaking of love in the world, we have a couple people in our group or in the YouTube live chats. We have some of our special House of Witchcraft members. Autumn is here. She says, yay, book. And then we have Ivy Rose, who also got a copy of Anya's book, who says it's a great book. So, yes. Oh, we're all excited to have you here tonight, girl.
Yay.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to be here. So
that is so cool. All right. So we're going to, like I said, we're going to start our conversation this evening with just talking about dark goddesses in general. It's a bit of a buzzword phraseology, something we say, and I don't think we quite even understand what we're saying. And first breaking down what is a dark goddess.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to let Anya answer that because she's got paper over there. So I assume she's got her some notes, which makes her. Yeah, there she goes.
Aaron's favorite words. I got notes.
I got notes, baby. Yes. So what is a dark goddess? Well, a dark goddess is a goddess, a deity that represents the dark, the unknown. It's not necessarily bad, evil, you know, it's the dark, it's the unknown, it's the liminal. It's not so much about it's not so much about the dark being something heavy, but it is unknown. It's perhaps uncomfortable, but also with that comes potential and possibilities, self-discovery, sovereignty as well.
I want to preface out with first starting out with the phraseology dark goddess is a modern phrase. Yeah. There is no such things as dark goddesses, light goddesses, all these categories. We were in antiquity, ancient times. That's a modern classification, and which has its own history of how it came about and how these different certain goddesses are put into this category of dark. And as you said, they were doing it with the idea of making it forbidden, but why was it forbidden? All of these goddesses, you brought that little point of liminality, transformation, the circle of life, or circle of death and rebirth and life, that whole circle thing. You find there are commonalities across all cultures when we're dealing with what we within Western modern words use as darker aspects. And I'm like you, I hate saying it because you're like, not dark, but yeah, it's dark.
It's dark because it's uncomfortable for people. And I've realized more and more as I've gotten on my witchcraft journey that, yeah, dark, and we'll get into the specifics on how this happened tonight. But yeah, dark does have a very bad connotation, but dark is a part of life. It's as Taryn said, it's life, life is dark, life is uncomfortable. There is no such thing as a dark or light goddess, because I mean, even even God smited people, capital God, whatever, God, smited people when there was injustice. It just is something that we kind of were like, yeah, that did happen, but we don't really get into the specifics of it. And I feel like dark goddesses really provide, especially in modern context, I believe that people seek dark goddesses for hope during dark times. And
yeah, I'm going to interject here for sure, because I have always I love dark goddesses. I call myself a dark witch, and some people will really kind of laugh because I'm bright, bubbly Dana. What do you mean I'm a dark witch? Like they assume that if you're a dark witch, you have to be brooding in corners over cauldrons, sipping your ex's hair into it and whispering things as you like cry mascara blood or something like that. And for me,
I am not.
right. But for me, it's kind of like what Anya's saying, it's they give hope. I've always had, not always, but there have been everyone's had bad times in their life, and I've always it's the same reason why I lean towards demons. I've always found a quiet comfort in the darkness because it was so prevalent around me that I got comfortable and used to it. And then I discovered that essentially these spirits, these goddesses, things like this, they're just like friends to have in those moments. And again, dark is not, it doesn't mean bad. I like a phrase that Taryn uses a lot, low vibration. That is what I would say. Low vibration energies is almost more of what modern society thinks what dark energy is and what like dark magic is. That's like low vibration things that isn't good for you, things that are bad, hate, envy, all of those negative energies. Whereas the darkness, it's not that. It's just a different aspect of light. There is good, there is bad, there is light, there is dark, there is all of the things. And dark goddesses are a time to kind of like enjoy that. And so because Tesseract has his hand up, I'm going to do a little quick round of the comments because we have Andy who's here with us. Hi, Andy. She says, sorry, I'm late. Julie is with us also. We got all of our 13 Moons witches in the chat right now. This is amazing. And even Miss Aqualore. So hi guys, love to see you. Feel free to say hi in the chat at any point. I'm going to be monitoring the chat. And so if you got anything you want to say, any feedbacks, any questions, I'll always be kind of interjecting with that. And so with that, I'll hand it off to Tesseract because like I said, I think you had your hand up.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say that like in my experience with working with some of the darker goddesses is they are instead of like if you work with like a deity of the light, like a something that you could say like projects light, I find that the dark goddesses are kind of like receivers of light and kind of like also reflect. Sometimes they're associated with like the moon phases and the moon itself. So sometimes your lunar goddesses and your dark goddesses kind of overlap. And and I think that's because like you need something that's not projecting its own light, its own force, its own kind of agenda into the space. You need something that is receptive. Like there's a balance and there's a time and a place for being in that state of receptivity and reflection and finding that inner depth. I think I sparked a thought for Taryn. Go for it.
It's why do witches wear black?
Mm-hmm. Because we look
Because
fly.
it absorbs all of it, makes you receptive too. You said a receptor. The dark dot allows for to bring this energy towards. And I think like when you said that, I was like, that's why witches wear black, is because it allows us to bring those energies out. That's why you see in some traditions they're wearing all white because they're keeping all of that out and they're keeping their own space, their own boundaries, and the condition they want. So very important when we that dark colors, dark goddesses type things. That was my whole thought process there. And I was just saying, Anya's over there with the notes. You want to give us our next section?
Absolutely. And actually, I think Tess kind of helped us with that segue as well, because again, with projecting that light, you see everything for what it is, but within the dark, there is that sense of the unknown. Lunar energy is dark energy. So by default, it is that unknown and liminality. So to give you the official notes version, dark goddesses were guardian again of the crossroads and liminal space. It worked with nature's cycles. We had working with the seasons, the wheel of the year. There were times for this, there were times for that. There is a time for darkness. There are times for light. To further elaborate, dark energy symbolized womb, lunar cycles, the unknown, the unseen, fertility, regeneration. They ruled over creation, liminal space, transition, sovereignty, and power. Because again, when you are sitting and addressing whether it's discomfort, whether it's dark, there's a lot to unpack there. Light, it is, you see it for everything, but let's get into the dark. Why are we in the dark? Why are we here? Within that, we can reclaim whatever we want. And it's actually, it's powerful. Yeah, it's potential. It's not evil. With some of the earliest dark goddesses.
Well, unfortunately, the patriarchy wants your potential to be labeled as evil.
Yes.
Ain't saying nothing, just saying.
Yeah.
Where when you just said, and I'm thinking, oh, you put words together that some folks don't want to hear about. We want to keep you the mindless sheeples that you are. And dark goddesses, I think, and this is something we find globally, again, where I was talking commonalities, which I find fascinating when we're dealing with different civilizations, different cultures, different timelines. We're still finding these commonality themes, as we said, those moments of transition, of liminality. Fertility is another one on it, you know. And that also another one that we find is for those in which are, you know, stepping into that realm of lighting a candle, speaking their prayers, potentially becoming a devotee. What all dark goddesses ask for is authenticity. Come as you truly are. And that sounds really easy. You're like, oh, cool. And then you realize you can't get up in your headspace that right now you are as good as you and that you need to go. And instead we all start thinking and we freeze. And it takes a lot of strength to stand in yourself and then to walk into that space.
It's like coming as you are. Yes, I firmly agree with that phrase, and I love that phrase and use it frequent, but also it is that invitation to be like, and so what are you going to do about it? Because you're here for a reason.
I'm gonna interject real fast with a comment breaks. We got a bunch of fun people in our comments. We have Horde of Unicorns, which I just want to promise. I love that name. I have no idea who you are, but I love your name. Says hi. Hi, Hordes of Unicorn.
Hi.
And then we have Yael with us. Hi, Yael. And Amy says Tesseract when we were talking about the dark goddesses. That's absolutely beautiful. Totally agree. Intuitive Fortune, which is our beautiful Yael, says, Taryn, you're amazing. What a smart way of looking at wearing colors when we were talking about white versus black. And Julie says, great questions. Thank you. If you guys have any questions about the goddess Aradia, throw them in the chat. This is the time. We're going to be going into the Zoom, which is going to have more of a presentation, like a, not presentation, but more of a discuss kind of thing. So
we're going to tell you different ways you can work with the goddess today, right now.
So yeah, if you have questions,
absolutely no special ingredients required. You are going to join us later on this evening at 8:00 in Zoom, and we're going to go over different ways you can actively bring her into your life today. Right now we're just talking about dark goddesses in general, and how that phraseology came about, what it actually represents. And I think the common theme is, no, this is not evil. No, this isn't bad. No, you're not going to get, smited, cursed, or anything else. Nothing bad's going to happen to you.
They're not scary. Yeah, that's a big thing. I hate witch talk, and I don't know if I'm due to derail y'all. I hate the idea of on witch talk when they're like, you can't work with these goddesses. You can't work with Hecate until you're ready, or terrible things will happen to you. You can't work with
alive. That's all that bullshit. That's some fear gatekeeping. The worst thing that's going to happen to you is nothing. Nothing is going to happen. You're going to sit there almost anticlimactic of, damn, nothing happened.
Because you didn't sit in it long enough. Nothing shifted. You didn't do the work.
Right.
You didn't show up for yourself. You didn't stand in the dark.
Nothing's going to happen.
Your trajectory shall remain the same.
And it's going to be discouraging, disheartening. It's going to make you question what you're doing. And the little demon of doubt's going to get on your shoulder and start whispering into you, this was foolish. And you need to go past all of that and do it again and again and again and you're going to do it. And you know what's going to happen? Something.
And
You're going to have that moment, that feeling on, for some folks, it's described a plethora of ways. It's an electrical charge. It's a sense of knowing. It's a change in the energy of the room. It's all of a sudden you almost feel buoyant, where a sense of lighterness came upon you. All right. We all have it. You may have a vivid dream that evening or the next couple of days. You have a sense of all is right in the world in this moment for me. I'm where I'm supposed to be. All right. But you damn sure don't get it the first time, the second time. And that's why I think folks think they're going to sip this altar, light a candle, and then be like, well, damn, nothing happened.
what'd you
That's
do?
a bust. I ain't doing it again. That's bullshit. It don't work for me. All right. And what we talked, about developing a relationship. Sometimes, like when you're first starting out, whatever, this is not necessarily for dark goddesses. This is working with different aspects of deity in general. First couple times may be a complete bummer. And like I said, it's up to you. Have to keep bringing it. You're building it. You're slowly feeding that energy. You're letting that particular energy aspect of god or goddess know that you mean this for real. You knocked 3 times. It wasn't just a passing thought.
Yeah, it's really like building a road, just one brick at a time. Every time you do the ritual, you only lay one brick, and eventually
I like that.
you'll make a nice connection and a path for the energy to flow.
Right. Pretty soon you get a nice path, a patio.
Right.
And
Get a whole dance hall.
Because you still need to learn some lessons, and everything you thought and then build it back up.
It's about showing up.
No matter what. How much are you willing to confront about yourself to build that damn, fortress or whatever you're trying to build?
So if you're called to work with dark aspects, dark gods and goddesses, you lesser deities, demons, go down those rabbit holes. There's no fear gatekeeping. Like I said, the worst thing that's going to happen is nothing. You're going to have to keep working at it. Eventually something will happen, but it's not like the movies.
No. Actually, in the chat, someone actually said that. Fee says my question would be, or Aqualore says my question would be, what did you expect to happen? And thanks to Hollywood, it's ridiculous. And also in the chat, Horta Unicorn says, "Hey, I know Anya." So hi there.
I know, Katie. I recognize. I was like, I think I can say her name.
And also, Aqualore caught up on Rosina's voice because technically you don't show up in the chat until your camera's on, but she caught your voice. So she says, "Hi, Rosina."
All of a sudden, there's a voice.
I'm eating.
There's a voice out of nowhere coming, and we want y'all to know that's Rosina.
The voice right.
I'll turn on my camera for a moment.
I was to say she's joining us, but she's still trying to finish her dinner and doesn't want to do it in front of everybody and trying to be polite.
Fair. That's pretty fair.
So,
that's why you keep popping off screen too.
You can turn your camera back off now and finish your dinner. Now that you've let everybody know that when they hear the voice, they're talking to you. That's where it's coming from and all that. And so I keep forgetting that when we're on live that happens. Thank you.
Yeah, you just become a floating voice if your video is on. Yeah, you're a floating voice.
Where did that come from? All right, so keep us on track there, Miss Anya.
Yep, I got us. Don't worry. I was sending Dana a little check-in email or text on my phone just so we're staying on track, so we are good. But I mean, yeah, if we are gonna say, so with that modern, yes, dark goddesses weren't really called dark goddesses, but also the earliest dark goddess, just to add a little bit more to the historical context, starts with Inanna, 3000 BCE. And then of course we go into Hecate, who she was about 700 BCE, or 700 BCE. And then it even goes out into Kali, in India, eastern regions, about 500 BCE. with that, let's go ahead. We kind of started to talk about
a long time ago, folks. When we start talking this, sometimes it's hard for us to comprehend the concept of something 3,000, something 4,000 years ago. Put it into context that modern Christianity started about 1,800 years ago.
And this is just when they started to write the stories down.
Oh, good point, because it was first within oral tradition, and typically oral tradition holds for anywhere from 500 to 1,000 years prior to known dates. So you can easily add that on top of the dates and stay within what would be considered academic peer type knowledge. We're not conspiracy theorists, is what I'm saying. So you start really concepting the idea of, like, you know, these older dark goddesses. You brought up Inanna, all right, which also, by the way, gives us some of our earliest pornography for anybody
absolutely
interested. The sonnets. They're brilliant. If you want to read them in
clutch your
group,
pearls, hands down.
It is brilliant, but their temples have always, even now, we say prayers to Inanna. Yeah, you know, Hecate, another one of the older of old. She predates Greek. She goes back, you know, into the time before the Titan stories existed. And so we still say prayers to them. And what I'm getting at is, it must be working because we're still doing it. You know, there's a reason why. It's because they have been there for folks. There's a reason why we still light our candles, our altars, and say our prayers. It's because these are active, energetic forms of divinity, aspects, gods, goddesses, whatever your phraseology. But you can bring them into, you can feel them, they can become an active part of your life. I mean, if it didn't work, we would have stopped doing it.
That is a point I say all the time when people are like, witchcraft isn't real. I'm like, oh, wow, we still doing it.
Right. If it didn't work, the reason we stopped using square wheels. I mean, because it didn't
I'd give a
work.
$1 to see someone make it work. A hot $1 on the spot.
But what I'm saying, the reason we used it is because it worked, because it resonated, because it held purpose in our lives. It was effective.
Well, and I think a lot of what, especially with modern times, with you know, I mean, talking just when media became public, and especially, I would even say in the last, you know, 70 years when we started having TV, you know, or so, let's call it even 100 years, I feel like something that has really always drawn me about witchcraft, especially as I've started to study it and practice it more, is I feel like there's a little bit more of a you shape your reality narrative. Only you can do this versus, and I'm just, I want to preface this with someone who probably is definitely more like, I am a bit Christian witch leaning, so this is not a jab, but I've always felt like with like growing up with Catholicism and stuff, it was very much like, we're going to make the best of this versus like, let's change, like power of change. At least that's what
I was gonna, can I say, I want to interrupt you because you were like, I'm a bit of a Christian witch, and I'm like, I'm sitting here thinking, no, you're not. You're an Italian folk witch, which anybody that, for folks in which want to understand that, is that most Italian folk witches are wrapped in Catholicism.
Thank
There
you.
is, it's like talking to Haitian voodoo people who are wrapped in Roman Catholicism, very heavy. You know, it is.
I'm a Baptist. I don't know what you're talking about.
Right. And, well, you get.
Did you say you're a Baptist? What did I just walk in on?
You get into the you go, you know, especially if you get into the Pennsylvania powwow Dutch folk. All right. Typically Lutheran Protestant identifying. As you pointed out, here in the Low Country Southern region, a lot of conjure folk identify within a Protestant Baptist base. And so a lot of folk, which is, it it's not so much that we're Christianized as much as our folk magic is wrapped within scripture.
Yes, and that's a fair point.
All right, and our scripture defies denominations.
Yeah.
I'm, open to all of it within, but I just really didn't want to put you in that pigeonhole of, you're this idea of a Christian witch, because I'm like, no, you're an Italian folk witch. And with that, without saying is Catholicism, and as we were joking that the lover of charms with that particular genre of magic, in which we will have Anya talk about later on her. And I'm so sorry if I'm bringing up things, and let's get us back on track.
No,
we're giving you guys a preview. All right, y'all are getting a preview so that when 8 o'clock comes, you guys all rush to press the Zoom button, which once again, for those who may have joined in the middle of the chat, we are going to continue this talk about the goddess of radio with our guest speaker Anya at 8 o'clock Eastern time, and you can find that Zoom link on our YouTube page under posts. Whew, I did it.
And with that, we are going to start talking about the goddess of radio a little bit. Are we done with what is a dark goddess? Why do I like them? Or is there
sorta?
I was say finish us up, please, Anya.
Yes, no, I'm keeping it. We are so on time. We are good. But with that, I think something that's important to mention, and I would love for you to lead this, Taryn. We're just going to lump, the patriarchal shift and the Christianization of Europe, because this is a very important kind of keynote moment for witchcraft in general.
Yeah. Absolutely, it changed so much of the phraseology. So much was erased. There was such a whitewashing and a change within that time period. That's what we were talking about, where the demonization of the old gods, that all of a sudden, healers, magic folk, and interesting magical beings all got labeled on the dark side, with the dark starting to represent this Satan, evil, devil guy that is partially in scripture and partially in their brains. I mean, because what they attribute so much of the devil and Satan to is not in scripture, and which is a whole other subject. But yes, there was and I think we're bringing that back around, that this is an age of an awakening for us in so many ways, where the magical community, because we are still, in our infancy of the technology and us absorbing knowledge on a global level. Used to, and I always want to go with Old Witch in the Room. I drove, 150 miles to a college library so I could read a book about something, only to find out I needed to read another book that was in another library on the other end of the state. And we're coming to terms with how to use it and be proper about it. And I think right now, with all the change going on, is the time to embrace the dark goddesses, because they are there as protectors. And when we talk about change is a liminal space. When you are in the state of change, you are in liminality. So this is the perfect time to work with these goddesses.
And I think especially keeping that in mind, right, with, again, the Christianization of Europe, the shift to more of the patriarchal gods and deities and whatnot. I mean, life in general is all about the way you look at things. All of a sudden, we go from like Hecate's dogs, guardians, and this to hellhounds, and especially where we're living at. Yeah, especially where we're living at right now in modern times.
I love that example that you brought up. I know you have a couple of others, and I want you to reiterate and speak that where we talk about whitewashing and how the demonization of the old gods and the myths was that Hecate's hounds, in which were deemed as protectors, were translated through the church to become hellhounds.
Yes. And especially if you're going to wear that witch label, right? I mean, I'll be honest, sometimes I do say Christian witch because then it's like, okay, like, you know, it's almost like for protection if we're keeping it 100, the way that things are right now. I'm just saying, but also like, again, right? It's like we have torches and then like, who hasn't heard of like, you know, witchcraft fire? And it's like, I mean, an image comes up with this. Keys, forbidden knowledge. Why is it forbidden? The keys is opportunity. Keys, I mean, is knowledge, but what suddenly makes it forbidden and all this like deep, there was just such a nasty, right? I mean, nightly ritual,
Well, it was
right?
a keep the fear alive, gatekeeping.
And
What we
that,
were talking about earlier that happens in our own community. Early Christianization, when they were really wanting to consolidate and solidify power, because this was all about getting the people under control, and that we're going to make the old gods evil.
yeah,
And for us here as modern witches, modern magical practitioners, we're having to relearn history.
yeah.
And a lot of us are playing catch up, where we're really having to just go back and really learn and understand not only history in general, but then the magical history and how much magic played a part in previous societies, and it still has a place in the modern society.
Which I think is a really beautiful segue too, to kind of introduce. So we had all this shift, and then we did come into a rediscovery with the occult revival, occult revival. Taryn, I'd love to defer to you about kind of now shifting to our topic.
The occult revival from actually started in the 1880s. It had a climax where we often listen to the Fox sisters and the tapping on the table and the spiritualist movement that we saw take place in the 1920s. And during this time, we got translations to some older magical texts, some private books that have been in private libraries, all of a sudden got a broader aspect. So new knowledge came about during this time. And this was the beginning of the Golden Dawn, the OTO. This is where we have those roots of where did Aleister Crowley get his things from, you know? And it was this magical revival. But if you also look at the time period for where people were, this was after the Civil War. This was during the time of Reconstructionism. All right. There were other things going on globally. And people were reaching for something else. They were tired of hearing the fire and brimstone dogma that every Sunday. And they knew that inside there was something more. And also was an explosion in secret societies of the time period. And a lot of them were based within, somebody had a copy of a rare magic book and then invited everybody to be part of this group. And they called themselves a secret society. They had some of the gentlemen's clubs were very occult based. And the coffee shops would have very occult flavors to them, different. Some would be very political, some would be very artsy, and some would be very occultist, where they were really starting to re-examine and re-explore what is magic, what does it mean?
Well, and with that too, right? We hear about Crowley and stuff, but which is definitely, I mean, that was can't think of the occult revival without Crowley.
Right. Yeah.
Or even witchcraft, even if you don't know who this guy is, you know, maybe you don't know anything about the occult revival, which I mean, I barely know much, but Crowley, right? But also we have, what's really cool is we have a very influential author at that time as well, Charles Leland.
Charles Leland, yes. He was a very well-known folklorist in America. Had already co-wrote, worked with other folklorists before he went to Italy. And that's where, when he was in Italy, he wrote the Gospel of Aradia. He claimed that it was transcribed to him by an old Italian witch. We believe that the old Italian witch was divinely inspired in his head, not necessarily a factual being. To sum it up very nicely with putting in, because on a, if academically, that's what people talk about, oh, she's not real, Charles Leland made her up. Well, does that mean that, Moses made up the 10 Commandments?
Mm-hmm. Well, in my day,
I'm not saying nothing. I'm just saying where we
Yep.
talk about, spirit in the head. Buddha had spirit in the head. He wrote some shit. We believe him.
Right.
Nope.
Why do we only believe big things, but we won't believe that the average person can hold spirit in their head? And this dude was primed for it. I'm sorry if I didn't get ahead of you on that, but that always gets to me. The very first thing when we talk about the origins of Aradia, the way I put her in my own personal, I can only speak personal, is that we often speak of through the charge of the goddess of many names, and then a list of all these, and then many names in which have been forgotten, because we have forgotten names. We pull up a statue and we know it is a representation of some goddess, but we don't know her name.
Mm-hmm.
It got lost to the mist of time.
Right. I want to also interject that my favorite thing about this with Anya, or with Anya, with the goddess Aradia, is that, everything Taryn just said 1,000%. But then on the flip side of like, what if, Leland just had like, a trip where he ate a little mushrooms he found in the woods and had a fantastic evening and wrote some really cool things. What if that just happened? In my opinion, it doesn't matter, because so long has gone by where we have worshipped and honored the goddess Aradia that if that did happen and Charles Leland just really enjoys a fun afternoon snack, it doesn't matter. We've created the goddess Aradia. The goddess Aradia exists through reverence, through honor, through respect, and through the worship that has been given to her over the years. So in my opinion, it doesn't even matter if she was quote unquote real or not, because in my opinion, we've manifested this energy. We've created, if she wasn't real before, she's real now.
Somebody,
she may have started as an egregore, but she's a goddess now.
And that's the same thing for being said. The first person that said Zeus lives on Mount Olympus.
Right.
That very beginning of the first person that was like, hey, y'all, I got some, there's this big god Zeus and he lives on Olympus.
Right.
There was a first for every story, every myth, every origin told.
Well, we have a question in the chat.
Sure.
First, we're just a little bit behind in the chat, so everyone's just been kind of having fun. Little fun fact, I guess the TV was invented in 1920, so it's like 100 years old. Indy noted that she was raised as a Catholic, St. Anthony, and a Legbo, which I think is an interesting mix, and everyone loves Cerberus. The question comes from Intuitive Fortune, says, what do you mean he was primed to do so? So writing of the Gospel Aradia. What does that mean?
He was already a folklorist. So when he went to Italy, he visited small villages and he was listening to local folklore. And if you know anything, and that's a bad phrase. Within the Italian folk magic, within Italian folklore, within their witchery, they're very, very superstitious. It was part of their daily ritual, daily life. So we wouldn't have had to look far to have been inspired. Anya and I were talking about, Italian there's a charm for that. Was within, very easily, if you're in a small village, you go into the local bakery. They got charms hanging on the wall so the bread don't fall. They got charms hanging on the wall so the bread rises. They got charms hanging.
Yeah.
All right. So he was already primed to see this as an American folklorist, to walk into this space. Go ahead. I see Anya.
Like, I see you. I see you. I see the
to
hands.
speak.
No, I'm so excited. No, yes, though. One thing just to add to all these wonderful things everyone was saying, but as an Italian American woman who grew up with, I mean, my family is pretty dang fresh from Italy as far as that's, you know, dad's been here 50 years or God knows how long now. It's the thickest accent you'll know. But like one thing that I just was so drawn to, and this gets so personal for me on so many levels, on my healing journey, on my witchcraft journey, on my community journey, on my family journey, and on a bit of a humanitarian journey too, is that when Leland went there, and to Dana's point, to your point, Taryn, you know, even if he did have maybe just a little bit too much alcohol or whatever he did and, you know, found in the woods, he was vibing with Italians. And like, I'm just saying, he was vibing with Italians. And I feel like so much of Italianism is the community. It is, I mean, right? That's why, like, you know, certain structures, like even like I don't know, I don't want to derail us, but like even like the mob, right? I mean, they ran such a clean ship, but they had, Rosina gets it, they ran such a tight ship because they had this merge of like the old ways. We're gonna hear like, you know, the old ways, or even in Leland's reference, oh my gosh, il religione vecchione, or something like the old religion, the old ways. It's this deep wisdom, this deep understanding of how things used to be done, these traditions, these charms, these sayings. I have some of these sayings that I'm starting to write down now that I just hear my dad, my mom's mom say, and everyone else in between, where it's like, dude, some of this stuff is just so embedded, it's in our culture. Who knows how long this stuff has last, given the fact, you know, that we had the Roman Empire, and some of it was just ways of living. And it was that celebratory, you know, it is everything that Aradia stands for. It's a community, it's lifting one another up. It's celebrating, it's living life. It's also holding space. It's also being a witch in whatever, you know, form of that word you want to embrace and take home with you. It's everything. It's
I
powerful.
love that you so touched upon. Let me say this real quick.
Yeah.
We're talking about I don't think as Americans we typically understand the true depths of Italian folklore, folk magic, how much it is truly integrated into their society, into their community, their way of just daily life being, to the point you don't even think about it. And somebody's like, "Oh my God, you're doing magic," and you're like, "No, I'm not. I'm just doing what grandma does." You know, you don't even call it what it is.
And hanging out with grandma.
Right,
You
you're just
know?
doing this, but how truly you know that the old ways were alive and well.
Mhm.
And they were very much part of everyday life. They were out in the open. It wasn't a secret. And so here's Charles Leland walking into that. And in so many ways, I think a lot of the Italian folk magic, the Italian folk witches, are trying to find their ways both in Italy and our American Italian witches, because we do have a large contingency of folks in the community that are very much based within their own ethnicity, their own culture, nationality. You're Italian, you bring your Italian side in. And I think Aradia was almost a bridge for a lot of the Italian witches from the old ways to the modern ways. She helped a lot of Italian witches keep their magic alive. And so I find a lot of folks in which do have Italian roots very much so resonate with Aradia. She's a modern representation of what a good Italian witch is about. And she's also a modern representation of witchcraft in general. You do not have to be Italian to work with her. I have zero Italian in me, and she can still speak to me too. That makes her, that's that universal why she's so popular and why we often reference her. And even in the Gospel of Aradia, she is addressed as the Queen of Witches. And I think many of us embrace her as such. And Dana, I know you had your hand up, and I'm sorry I went on.
Oh no, it's fine. I wanted to give the 10-minute warning was all. I was just gonna give a brief 10-minute warning to everybody that we are going to be moving over to the Zoom. And for those who have joined us a little late, in 10 minutes, we're going to be continuing this conversation on our Zoom. You can find that link under the post tabs on our YouTube channel.
We're going to talk about ways you can work with Aradia today. We're going to be giving you 5 different ways that you yourself right now can work with Aradia. Now that we've given some context to the who, what, where, when, and why, we're going to tell you how.
And I do, yeah. So
I'm also going to be linking a blog post by special guest speaker this season of Anya about the goddess Radia. I'm going to link it into the YouTube chat post, and we'll also share that on the. I'll try and see if I can edit our YouTube description that has that on there as well too.
Oh, thank you, Dana. Very sweet of you.
Yeah, and it's really I've loved the I wish sometimes we record the private conversations Anya and I have where your own Italian roots and how the goddess Aradia resonates with you and this mythology. And it's beautiful. I mean, she's the daughter of Diana and Lucifer, the good Lucifer, the bearer of light,
the
Lucifer.
hot one.
Yes, not the we talked
one.
earlier about how
the morning wood. I mean, morning star.
Right.
Yeah.
That whole Christianization, demonization, and they made Lucifer a bad guy. Lucifer's not a bad guy. He's absolutely really hot, cool, and has got it going on. And him and Diana, and that is where
I get it, is all I'm saying.
Aradia is the mythology. She is the daughter of these two. She is the daughter of the light of day, and she is the daughter of the light at night. And she's between these worlds. She is represented as a goddess of justice, a goddess of strength. She is about justice for the oppressed. She very much is righteous vengeance, but at the same time, there is also forgiveness with her as well. Very much a working class goddess, and the sense that that everybody deserves the right to food, shelter, and livelihood, and that kings are bad ideas. And this is a goddess where we can work with her for protection. And if you are wanting here in America where you're feeling frustrated and not knowing what to do, please light a candle to Aradia, asking her to send protection and strength to those of us that are standing in the front lines against what is going on in this country right now. And any ending thoughts before we flip over to the last couple of promos?
Yeah, I'm gonna cut y'all off in a second. And also to everyone in the waiting room, I'm so sorry. I thought I posted that note to the whole chat where I just said 2 minutes till I cut Taryn off to do my 13 moon spiel. So everyone in the waiting room who just saw that.
I think Anya had an ending thing she wanted to say.
I'm gonna pass it back to her, but I also
totally fine.
Myself
totally good.
So
no.
Sorry about that, y'all. I meant to post that to the other chat. Sorry, Anya. Ending comments, and then I just need a couple minutes at the end.
Sure. No, that's perfect, actually. So all I really just want to hone in on, especially it's wow, this is a lot of nuance. This is a lot of this is a lot of that. But one message I really want to hone into everyone that I find so special about this goddess, especially how we're back through change in times, however you want to look at that, however you want to internalize that, the power is always in the community. However, the power starts within the self. If you're willing to take that journey within yourself, because Aradia, you're not going to light a candle and Aradia isn't going to be okay, well, here we go. No, you light that candle for Aradia for protection. Okay, well, yes, we are sending healing energy out into the community, but what are we going to do about it? How are we going to show up differently on our altars, on our day-to-day? How are we going to spread that Italian love, if you will, that kindness, that community feeling everywhere to our indigenous folk, to our undocumented workers, to whomever the hell needs some love in their life? How are we going to do that? And that's really kind of also what we're going to get into tonight, because it starts with the self. It kind of veers off into this beautiful journey with a coven in my particular experience. But then suddenly you find out, holy moly, things shift when you are really embedded into a beautiful community like this one, like the house. I mean, I have experiences with everyone here in this chat and I've just had a lot of those WTF of like, did that really happen? Like, holy moly. Mm-hmm. That is powerful, and that is what's going to change the collective, understanding that our power, I hate using that word power, but our whatever, our ideals, our hearts, our souls, that can lead a nation, if I may be so brazen to say.
Oh, that is absolutely beautiful.
I'm
and
proud
we are
of
going to
you.
continue. 1 second, Tara. I need the last few minutes to do my little spiel.
Okay.
But
I
we are
heard what I
going
need
to
to hear,
continue.
Tara.
She's great. We're going to continue this amazing discussion right over at the Zoom chat. We have that posted in our YouTube page under posts. We have a couple people that have been chilling in the waiting room this entire hour. Y'all are dedicated. We love that. But I just want to say thank you guys so much. As usual, the House of Witchcraft on the first Thursday of every month. We go live on YouTube from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern time. And then right at 8 p.m., we switch over to Zoom where we have various different discussions. Tonight, we have our guest speaker, Anya from the Season of Anya, who's going to be going into our topic, Aradia. But we do various different types of things during our first Thursdays. Sometimes we have more general discussions. Sometimes we have rituals, things like that. Tons of fun. It's great for if you know anyone who's curious about witchcraft, who wants to see what it's about, send them the Zoom link, tell them to come see us on the first Thursday of the month. And then also, if you like us and you really kind of think that we're cool and you want to hang out with us more, we do have the 13 Booths to the Crossroads, which is our virtual coven. We've been running, I came in the last few years. Tara and Tesseract, Rosina, they've been running that bad boy since early 2019, the plague, something like that. But you can join
Plague.
the plague is my mile marker. But
that's what we're gonna put established.
Yeah,
plague.
Plague. But if you want to come hang out with us every Thursday, where we have a book club, rituals, all kinds of different fun things, you can go ahead and join the 13 Moons membership program on YouTube. Not only do we meet once a month or once a week on Thursdays, we also have once a month meditations led by our very own Tesseract. We have the 5 Goddess chat led by our very own Rosina, and newly introduced from our very own, she's in our chat, Miss Aqualore is going to be doing quarterly crafting classes with us, where we're going to be crafting magic and taking the fun of doing something with our hands and building something and finding the magic in it. And so with that is my 13 moon spiel. We have 1 minute, which is, I wanted to also say to the last few people in the chat, thank you guys so much. We always love interacting with you guys. Horde of Unicorns was talking about the collective energies merging together to create these deities. Also mentioning, love to hear the talk about Italian nods. She doesn't know much about Italian folklore. That's why we're all here tonight, to learn from our beautiful Italian witch. And then Aqualore also mentioned, when we were talking about hot Satan, that David Tennant Devil, and yes, David Tennant Devil is yes. So with that, we're going to go ahead and get ready to close the live out and open up the Zoom. So it is 8 o'clock now. Taryn, do the thing.